Welcome one, welcome all to episode 228 of the Xbox Expansion Pass, recorded on Saturday, May 18th, 2024. I'm your host, Luke Lohr, the Insipid Ghost, joined by my co-host, the Intrepid, Captain Logan. Today, we are a week removed from Xbox shuttering 4 studios, and attention is prominently on a new Activision studio, a new Assassin's Creed title, a new set of PlayStation leadership changes, and news that Square-Enix is now going multi-platform. Good Lord, it has been, or rather I should say, it has been a week. My goodness, Logan. We like to start the show by offering words of kindness to those who have made our gaming weeks better. But first, how are you, my friend?
Ahoy, ahoy. This has been a better week.
Good.
Folks have been listening for a while. They'll know I'm going through kind of a rough time, kind of getting better, starting to feel a little more confident in what's been going on. So I'm happy for that. And this has been a pretty awesome week, but aside from that, I'm looking forward to a goth celebration day today. It's I didn't know there was a thing for goths. We didn't we didn't know that there was, I didn't get the memo by Bat, so I was really surprised by that, but I'm celebrating it. So I'm really happy about that. How about you?
Well, that's good. Congratulations. I'm good, man.
Yeah.
Things are good. Lots of stuff rocking and rolling in the XCP land this week. I've been playing Hellblade, which I was fortunate enough to get a review code for that one. So that's been a pleasure. I got word that I'll be headed to the Xbox showcase, so working on details for that. Pretty exciting on the Xbox expansion pass side of things. And then my students finished their end of grade tests, and now we've got remediation and the last week of school. So busy, but I can't complain.
Good. I know it's always stressful when you got a lot going on, trying to manage all of it and make sure you're not dropping the ball anywhere. But I always believe that you've got that in the bag, even when you stress out a little bit about it.
What? No, not me. Couldn't be. Thank you, though. I appreciate those kind words.
How's your pillow and security blanket doing? Are they holding up?
I had to switch to the weighted blanket last night just to get a little anxiety reduction. That's a real thing. But no, it's, I didn't sleep well last night, but I'm feeling good right now. I think I'm gonna get a good nap in today and
good
whatnot. But yeah, a lot of planning going on. I want to give words of kindness to someone who I don't think has ever listened to the show, and that's my mom. My mom. She sent me a nice little card congratulating me about going to LA. She's very excited for me. She knows how much I've wanted this for 5 years. So I'm actually going to put this right here. It says, happy trail, sweet boy. We love you so much. And so that was very nice of my mom. So she's getting my words of kindness this week, and I love her and I appreciate her. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know who brightened my week was Dan from the Nerd Chat. Daddy D Wally, he reached out to me, and it was on Thursday, and unfortunately on Thursdays I've got like a Zumba class that I've been going to right at the time that they start, so I always end up missing like pretty much most of their show. But just the fact that I got like the random invite, and it was short notice, but the fact that he invited me was so heartwarming. I was just like, man, I really want to like sit down and chat with them about games and stuff. They're
super cool.
Want to. It just happened to be I'd already made a commitment to the Zumba thing, so I was really bummed about that. But I was really happy just to have like that kind of consideration. And whenever I get those like invites from friends that want to see if I can come on their show, those I genuinely want to do all of them, man, because I love just chatting and talking about games, and it's such a fun time to sit there and hear other folks' opinions about stuff and see where they're coming from and see where they fall on the same line. Because it's one thing that we're all gamers, right? But we've all got different backgrounds and histories and stuff and perspectives, and it's so fun to kind of experience those. So shout out to them for the invite. I really did appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So good morning, GoldenEye.
Yeah, good morning to GoldenEye, Silkenet, Cheeseworks, Jam Pack, Sam, Ellery Woods Parker III, X Bacon Gaming in the chat. Also, Nisa Hauer here, as always. She's amazing. Kevin Ainsworth in the house also. Always a pleasure to see you guys here supporting us, and I agree with Logan. It always feels good when we have that community vibe. I will say I've not finished the Nerd Chat. I've started it, but I haven't finished it this week. But I have. I caught a good short from Project X Talk, which is Kevin Ainsworth and Jam Pack Sam.
Mm.
It was Jam Pack Sam. He was making a joke, and I'm not doing it justice. You guys should go watch the short on their page, but it was something to the effect of sometimes games have like too many messages, and like, is the final boss of Hellblade actually therapy or something? And it caught me just right, and I was like, ha, that was good. It was funny. It was just like one of those little things, you know. And so I chuckled at that, and so it was fun.
That's funny.
But it has been a wild week of just hit after hit of news, right?
Yeah.
Like just stuff that keeps happening. Last week it was this big doom and gloom. Xbox is dead. We're shuttering 4 studios, award-winning studios, and
right.
You know, Sarah Bond didn't show up well for Bloomberg. Matt Booty made a foolish comment that could have been taken out of context. I don't know, but the premise is you wanted award-winning games, you shuttered that studio. Yeah. You know, and so like these 2 massive L's, self-inflicted wound kind of thing, and then this week we've got news of a new Activision studio that we're going to talk about. Ubisoft graced us with an Assassin's Creed trailer that I think is friggin' amazing. PlayStation put up 2 new leaders to, you know, manager and co-manager for their brand. And then we've got news that Square-Enix is going multi-platform. All of that is pretty massive in terms of like shifting the medium of the gaming space. Whenever you get a new Activision studio that's making something all new, I think you've got a big thing working there, and that's something to be pointed out. Activision's new studio is called Elsewhere Entertainment, Logan. It's going to be headquartered in Poland, which, from my understanding, it's very receptive to like game studios. It's not overly expensive for game studios to work out of there. It's much cheaper than like, say, being in LA or New York or some of these other places where studios have kind of coalesced, and lots of them are in these clusters. But Poland seems to be a pretty healthy place for developers to work. Then you have the talent that apparently is working there, worked on games like Uncharted, The Last of Us, Cyberpunk, and they're making something all new. Like it's not a Call of Duty studio. It's not a farm studio for maps. They're not making assets. It's an all new IP from Activision, which means this isn't like Toys for Bob working on the new Spyro and Crash, which they've teased, which we'll talk about as well, I suppose. But it's pretty wild to think like this is new, and it's a narrative based, genre defining AAA, which is corporate speak, but that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, no, I think it's amazing. I've seen a lot of people, unfortunately, very kind of like, why would you go and shutter studios just to open up a new one? And it's like, it's you guys have to kind of break away from the idea that Microsoft or Xbox as a whole has just got one pot of money, and that's what they pull from for everything. Like, there's allocations for funds and stuff, and the shuttering of studios in Bethesda was something that was going to predominantly affect ZeniMax as an entity. What's happening now with Activision is going to be affected by what they do. And this is what happens when Xbox says we need AAA games that compare to things like Cyberpunk and Destiny and God of War and stuff and Uncharted. And they're like, okay, we'll build a studio where we know that there's talent for those types of games in a country that is very open to having studios and has good funding and support through the government to be able to do that. So I'm really excited for this. This is like a plant the seeds in the ground kind of scenario right now. So no one should be expecting any news or updates from this studio for at least a good 4 or 5 years. So, probably next generation is when we'll start to hear more about what Elsewhere Entertainment's going to be doing. And it's just, it's nice to see that. One of the things that I think really bummed me out in the past with Phil Spencer's comments towards, how does Xbox compare or compete with PlayStation is that they can't just make the same games, or they can't just make great games. And I've always had an issue with that, because I've always felt like, no, I think you can. I think with the hardware that you can, if you just make great games,
Mm-hmm.
People will recognize that. They'll have prestige and understanding. It was something that pushed Blizzard for so long. It wasn't ready until it was Blizzard ready, and it would come out when it was ready. They would hold a game until it was so polished. And having played games that weren't launched from them, their betas and stuff like that they've had in the past are far more polished. So there is something to be said about them wanting to make narrative based, genre defining, which to me usually says they want it to be something that if they are making a AAA narrative game that is like a action adventure, they want people to refer to that game for that genre. Like Souls like games, like Dark Souls is to that genre, like Metroidvania is to that genre, like platformer is to like Mario and stuff. Like they want to create those types of games, and that's a heck of an ambition. And kudos to them for going for that, and kudos to Activision and Xbox for recognizing where their weaknesses still are in that ecosystem.
I think like you pointed out a comment like Phil Spencer, just make great games. Do you think that's still the case? Do you think that's still what's going on, or is it give me games that are return on investment?
As far from I guess a clarifying question is from Phil's perspective or from the consumer perspective?
It doesn't. Kind of what I'm getting at is I don't think it matters if it's Phil's perspective or Sarah Bond's perspective. This feels like Amy Hood, Satya Nadella, and it feels like that because a week ago we shuttered 4 studios, and one of them made an award-winning title, right? So that's why it feels like that. That's not to say they're actually in control or whatnot. It's just like, oh, we're gamers. We see some news. We're reacting to it when in fact it could be more complex. But I do not get the vibe that the same Xbox vision is in place. You know, part of the thumbnail for this episode is new studio, new vision. And I do not feel like this vision is the same as it was even a year ago.
No, I agree, because this, if you're going to be making this kind of studio, this is a commitment to something that I feel like Xbox has yet to really deliver on. Like Hi-Fi Rush was the highest ranked Xbox game that we've seen this generation, right?
Yep.
I think they are still shooting for that 10 out of 10 masterpiece. And I think that the initiative isn't there. I think Perfect Dark is probably not there. I think Fable has a better chance of that, given the pedigree of the studio that's working on it. I think that Xbox still wants to have that notch on the belt that says we have a 10 out of 10 game. And this to me says that this is their attempt to try and do this the right way, not the initiative way where they hire studios to go do work for them and they just are like this brainchild that comes up with the idea of what this game is going to be. But giving a studio like the initiative, like, we understand what you make, we understand what you want to make, we want you to make that type of a game, however it's going to be, but just shoot for the stars on this one and let them do that. And it is different from what they've said, because it feels like this might actually be something that could actually like go toe to toe with some of the content that we see out of Sony.
From Elsewhere Entertainment, you're speaking of, not the initiative? No, I tend to, go ahead.
I don't think that the initiative is more than just like a Kickstarter, like a flint to the campfire that they want to make for a game. I'm
inclined to agree. I saw Cheeseworks' comment about, believing in Perfect Dark, and hats off to you. I don't, but my bias is informed by when I had a friend that worked at Crystal Dynamics, and he was telling me how all the stuff they were doing and how disastrous the initiative was. That was years ago, and truly it could be something very different now. But I do not get the vibe that the initiative is anything worth tipping your hat or noting. Elsewhere, to Cheeseworks' point again, is Microsoft's first homegrown studio since the initiative. That's true. That's true. A lot of time between now and when we get to see Elsewhere's projects and just what that means. But I do believe that, and I agree that Xbox is searching for that 10 out of 10 game on some level, but I think they are searching for it far less than they were 2 years ago. I think now the search is for monetization and consistent income. And that's why you see the multi-platform strategy. That's why you see Sea of Thieves and Grounded successful over on PlayStation, Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment not. I think that's why you see Call of Duty and discussions of Call of Duty going into Game Pass being so contentious, at least in the social spaces. For anyone that doesn't follow the social spaces like Twitter or Threads or Instagram or whatnot, right now there's a lot of insider discussion about whether or not Game Pass is going to house the next Call of Duty, or whether or not we see the current Call of Duty show up this summer in Game Pass. And I think that the debate there is, with a juggernaut like Call of Duty and its monetization model, does that change the pricing scale and structures for Xbox Game Pass? And that's why I'm kind of leaning away from the idea that they're searching for that 10 out of 10 game, because I just don't think they're willing to invest the time for that 10 out of 10 game, because would not Tango Gameworks have had a potential to do that? I don't know. Shout out to Matt Valdez in the chat joining us today. Good to see you, Matt. Hope you're doing well, buddy. I will point out Jam Pack Sam's comment saying, worth noting too that they've been operating for a while, I believe, so it might have been a ball that was already rolling pre-buyout. He's speaking about Elsewhere Entertainment. I do believe I saw somewhere it's been going for 2 years. I don't have that in front of me, so I might be wrong. Anyone's willing in chat to let me know. But yeah, Elsewhere Entertainment rocking for 2 years. Could have been something pre-buyout. Could have been something Xbox leadership knew about. Regardless, I don't think that the search for the 10 out of 10 game is the jam anymore. They don't need to sell their consoles. They're not trying to sell their consoles. If they were, their strategies would have been different. I think we're seeing.
I don't think this is. Sorry to interrupt there.
Please.
I don't think they're trying to sell consoles with this kind of a game. I think they're trying to establish value and credibility in their ecosystem. There's no reason to buy Game Pass if you don't have games worth buying on Game Pass. And Call of Duty is going to be one of the big pushes there, but they can already monetize the hell out of that. They can already monetize the heck out of all their other content. This is going to be something that is going to be one of like if their game comes out and it is a genre defining AAA franchise that's a narrative based, we're looking at potentially the next pillar franchise for Xbox. They don't have to monetize that the way they do. They can still put it out on everything. They can still monetize that way as well too. But they need something good, something big for Game Pass. Like, I don't expect Fable to be monetized to hell. Like, I don't expect a season pass out of Fable, but they do need that caliber of a game.
I agree to a point, and then I stop. And Ellery Woods Parker III coming in with the question, wouldn't a 10 out of 10 game bring in money? I would cite recent examples of Alan Wake 2 as being, an example of no, maybe not. Because Alan Wake 2,
very niche.
It's very niche, so good, but I don't think it hasn't made money yet, right? And there's a lot of games recently in the last year that have come out, been really good, and not made money. Soakin' saying actually kind of saying almost the exact same thing about Alan Wake 2. 10 out of 10 for a lot of people, but not a super commercial success. That's the problem with niche titles. And when you look at Xbox's current lineup of games that are on the way, they've got a ton of stuff. But some of those that are intended to be heavy hitters may not be mass appeal type games. And that's where it's like, okay, Fallout might be your jam. Doom might be your jam. But is the game that's coming out next week going to be your jam? Is it? Is it not? Like, how much quality is offset by desire to play it? Go ahead.
I think the difference here is the games that are getting brought up, like Doom, for sure. Doom, 100%. Genre defining game right there. This is going to be a narrative driven AAA genre defining game. I expect, when I hear genre defining, that to me says when you think of this genre, you say that game's name. Doom is 100% one of those games.
Okay.
Halo is definitely one of those games. Gears of War is definitely. Sea of Thieves for a pirate game is the game you think of when you think pirate game.
Absolutely. Agreed.
That's what I'm expecting from this kind of a studio, and that will 100% make sales for Xbox, regardless of where those sales come from.
Cheeseworks makes an interesting point, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. Xbox needs a new franchise. All of their pillars are dated, but still great, like Ghost of Tsushima or Horizon. I would argue PlayStation's pillars are starting to get dated also, and pillar franchises for Xbox are no longer Halo and Gears. They are now Fallout and Call of Duty and Diablo, and those could be dated. But I think pillar franchises are no longer the same thing. Pillar franchises and genre defining are not one-to-one the way they once were. And I think that's the point, Logan, that you were kind of touching on, is that genre defining, you think of Doom, you think of
the big stuff.
The big stuff. But pillar franchises are steady income, steady interest type games. And those tends to be, in this current climate, live service. When you look at PlayStation's pillar franchises, Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, God of War. I don't include Horizon in there because it's had 3 games come out and they've all kind of landed with a dud, which sucks because they're high quality, great games. It might actually support our point from earlier, making 10 out of 10 games. It doesn't matter that it was Breath of the Wild or Cyberpunk or what was the game that Elden Ring that nixed the launch of those Horizon games. They failed to catch hold despite their obvious quality, the VR game too. And so 10 out of 10 doesn't mean pillar, you know?
Yeah, no, and to speak to Cheeseworks' comment, both Ghost of Tsushima,
Untitled Ghost of Tsushima game.
Dude, I can't wait for that second one. It's gonna be so amazing. Ghost of Tsushima and Horizon, both PS4 games. And I would argue that Starfield is probably the closest to a genre defining game that we've seen that's of high caliber for this generation.
From a first party?
From a first party, yeah.
Okay.
That we've seen this generation from Xbox or PlayStation. I can't really think of something off the top of my head that PlayStation has, that they have put out this generation that really just, I mean, I would guess, what's that one?
They have a sequelitis problem.
Well, that's not the problem though. Is
it not?
No, I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is that they are charging full price for these games. They have the $200 collector's editions, and they just put everything out so early into the lifespan of the game to sell consoles, and they're selling consoles. But the problem is that they just didn't have the follow-up after those games came out. Like, everything came out at the end of the PS4 and the beginning of the PS5, and then they have nothing because they didn't stagger their releases that well.
One would argue it doesn't matter because they sold all those consoles, and then a counter argument to that is they're not making a return of investment on those games. So
yeah,
definitely an example for why each of these major companies is trying to retool and reorganize themselves to show profit. I'm sorry, I distracted my own self in that thought. I was sorry. I was like, that's a really good point, and then I lost the next point I was going to make. I do kind of think there's a sequelitis problem on the PlayStation side and a lack of development cadence on the Xbox side. But as far as like genre defining current gen from first party, I am curious what you will say a week from now after Hellblade has launched, after we've seen reviews drop for that, after there is a reception by the gaming community, positive or negative. Then I am curious to think, okay, what is it that that you see that it's like, okay, yes. And that's just, I'm just wondering, will that be a change?
I feel like, and unfortunately for this, I think Hellblade is going to fall into the same category that I feel like Alan Wake 2 does, is that it's an amazing game. It's beautiful. They really killed it kind of thing, but it's so niche and the marketing just like I don't really have ads on a lot of the stuff that I watch, so I can't really speak to this too much, but I've only barely started to hear people like rumblings about people seeing ads for Hellblade and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought when they were going to do like the 3 weeks of media blast, I thought it'd be a lot heavier. Mm-hmm. I was actually anticipating a lot more marketing, and I just have not heard or seen anyone really comment about how they're sick and tired of seeing Hellblade stuff. And that's kind of what I was expecting, given the short window of time. Like if this was the lead, if this was the marketing rollout that Aaron had in plan for Hellblade, they realistically could have started this 2 months ago, and people wouldn't be sick of it yet, because it's barely noticeable at this point.
I can't really comment on it because of embargo stuff, so I don't want to comment on the game or even its marketing elements.
How is it? How is it?
How
is it?
So, I think once the game is out and reviews are there and people have been able to talk about it publicly, will their marketing be called into question? Will it not? Will be something to follow, but I don't want to comment on whether or not it was right or wrong or good or bad. But I see Silken in chat saying that he was expecting to be sick of it by now as well. I think it'll be, I'm sorry, I clicked Dano. Hi, Dano. Same after the Aaron tweet, I was expecting a lot. I think a lot of people were. Yeah. I have not seen a lot of marketing, but again, I'm kind of limited on just commenting on it in general. So, take that for what you
need to start taking Aaron Greenberg's tweets with a grain of salt. I think I need to readjust my expectations of when Aaron tweets.
We mentioned that last week, I believe. Just in general, are they to be believed? Are they not? And
believed, yes. Maybe not to the degree that he's putting out there, though.
Not evangelized, for sure.
Yes,
for sure.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I think I think I'm inclined to agree. Hellblade doesn't strike me as. Hold on, I see that comment. I don't want to lose it. Hellblade doesn't strike me as a loop game, but I'm excited to hear your thoughts at release. Matt, again, I can't talk about this one even a little bit, but I can tell you the first game was a game that I loved. I did love it a great deal. So as I'm writing my review, I'm consistently, and I saw this with Suicide Squad when I reviewed that, and the other reviews I've done at various times, because I'm not an expert reviewer, but I consistently try to let the audience know where I'm coming from in a place, like what it is that informs my experiences and desires with a game. And that, I hope, sets a precedent for the rest of the review, whatever it might be. So if I'm talking about Suicide Squad, it's coming from the perspective of someone who loves Arkham. And I think that's important because it's set in that universe and that world. Others disagree with that philosophy, but that's up to the person watching it. And so when I am able to talk about Hellblade 2, I will speak about my initial experiences with Hellblade 1, which are very positive. I really enjoyed Hellblade 1, particularly the research that they did into psychosis on the first game. I don't want to talk about the second one for now. Shout out to Meadow1606 hanging out in the chat, says, how's it going, everybody? He drops a Vault Boy in there also. I love seeing those things. I am working on a Little Caesars emoji for channel members. I will get that in there. That will be a thing. I just need it to be vile enough. And speaking of Little Caesars, here's the nerd chat. Says, but if it's not going to be a huge commercial success either way, a la Alan Wake 2, is it worth them spending a ton of marketing money? That's a great question. And I think you have to balance is it worth the money for the game? Maybe not. Is it worth the money for the brand and brand recognition? Maybe so. And somewhere in there, those number crunchers will make that make sense for them. However, I consistently think those number crunchers get it wrong. And they have proven, I cite that by the fact that there are 5 times as many PlayStation 5s on the market as Xbox Series X's, according to Daniel Ahmad. I'll cite all the games that are very poorly marketed and come alive far too late. Halo Infinite right now, their marketing team is on fire. They're dropping trailers. They're dropping community stuff. They're laughing. They're having a blast. Where was that? That personality would have been useful. in
Dude,
other parts.
those people were not there probably.
That's my point.
When the game, and also the people that were there were too busy stomping fires.
It's true, but I think that's what a good marketing team does. And then after we read our patrons, I want to point out the Sarah Bond interview and talk about marketing and PR for a moment. But let's give a shout out real quick to Addy Zero dropping in here with a $5 super chat.
Adidas.
I always say Addy Zero because I think it's a cool name.
All right.
I'm sorry. I love you. Adidas 20. I love Addy. He's awesome. It says, "What's up, Luke and Logan? Salute to you, man. Thank you for being here. Appreciate the super chat, man. Thank you so much. Keeping the lights on, the content coming, my friend. Let's see. I'm reading through the chat here. Yes, I'll get you a Little Caesars emoji at some point. Nerd Chat says, I agree. I think marketing is so important in today's world, and Xbox marketing needs to improve massively. All right, hold that thought. Let's read some our patrons real quick. And then we will kind of come back to the chat. I'm going to star your comment, Ryan. Logan, would you be so kind as to read our patrons?
Yeah. So if you guys don't know, we do have a Patreon and as well as the YouTube memberships. And if you guys want to do that, definitely appreciate the help. Everything that you put into that goes towards the podcast in one way or another. So be sure to head over to patreon.com/the Xbox expansion pass. This week, we're doing the tier 2 and tier 3 shout outs. So thank you to Chris 1H1D, Nicholas Johnson, Ellery Woods Parker III, Rob Frawley II, Tao Zochi, Xbox Skittle, Randall Thor 19, Silkenit, African aka Charles Jones, Game Positive, Jam Pack Sam, Matt Valdez, Neo Prime 33, Rick Davis, Red Beast, Xbox Mike 29, the Lord Sir Master James Suddy, Brendan Myers aka The Winter Gamer, Sony's VP of Marketing Kevin Butler, Clint Coombs, DJ Hero, and Dano12. Thank you all so much for your love and your support. It really does help us with this. A lot of it is kind of helping fund Luke in his trip to LA that is affording him a content and interviews for us in the future. So much appreciated. Also, shout out to Matt Valdez gifting another 10 subs over at the YouTube version of it. So really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Hope you guys all enjoy that. Looks like we've got a bunch of folks that just earned a whole bunch of emotes as well as access to our Discord. So make sure you guys are checking that out. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to let us know. We will always try to help you out on that as well too. So thank you so much.
Big time. Thank you, Matt. 10 gifted subs, man. I'm honored and appreciative. Thank you so much, Matt Valdez. You man, I don't really have the words because sometimes I'm in awe. But I really thank you, man. That means the absolute world. It does help me with so much stuff. And so I am just grateful to you, man. Thank you so much. Man, we're going to read our channel members a little later in the episode. Also, I want to have time to get the gifted ones kind of into my list there. Let's go back, Logan, to a comment from Ryan T. He says, making a small correction to a statement I made. PlayStation 5 outsold Xbox in Q1 2024 5-1, but they have something around 3 times as many sold overall. I was looking at tweets from Daniel Ahmad, who is an analyst in the industry, and he said PlayStation 5 shipped 4.5 million units last quarter. According to our estimates, this is 5 times more than the Xbox Series X shipped in the same period. Okay, so thank you for the correction. You are absolutely right. Making good sense there. Let me point out. I think
they've got about close to 60 million sold, and I think Xbox is around 2023.
Yeah, let me drop in. This is a comment I'm putting in here so I can show it. This one comes from Daniel Ahmad's same Twitter. This is Daniel Ahmad saying it's PS5 59.2 million units as of March 31st, 2024, slightly behind PS4 in the same time frame, which is at 60 million. They do not expect PS5 to surpass PS4 in the next. And then Xbox.
Yeah, because they got no games.
Because they've got no games right now. Absolutely. Yeah, it is pretty interesting. But Xbox right now, not selling consoles either. We saw 2 weeks ago, I should say, that Xbox was down 31% in, I think, the UK. And that tends to be indicative of worldwide. console sales being down, but we saw their revenues going up. PlayStation, their PS5 sales are down 29% year over year, which is not the same number. Like 29% down for PlayStation is not the same as 29% down for Xbox, because they're selling different amounts as the base anyway.
Yeah.
But certainly it's indicative of saying that console sales are down in this generation, which makes good sense, I think, as the industry contracts. It's also why you see leaderships at both companies seeking to find profits in other places. Helldivers 2 was the fastest selling Sony game ever. A lot of that has to do with it being on PC. A lot of it has to do with PC. And so that is why you're seeing Xbox examine the cloud space 2-3 years ago, why you're seeing PlayStation explore the PC place now, trying to figure out ways to get to new customers because console sales are not growing. And so that is just something to be kind of aware of as we go into the next gen. Even the Switch is down, which is, unique unto itself.
I don't really count that though. Everyone's waiting for that Switch 2. It is imminent, and that's always gonna, once the new thing's gonna come out, sales are gonna drop for the current, unless the price goes down.
I agree, and I think the Switch is just tired. It's tired. I think consoles move too fast. There's a reason the PC market is expanding. The number of PC gamers is expanding because they're less limited by ecosystems.
Yeah, but also you can buy graphics cards for like the first time in 5 years, which
True.
is not like, we don't have the data miners like freaking chewing through graphics cards. So the prices are still ridiculous, but like hardware for PCs is starting to, get back to a manageable cost. But yeah, just availability has been way better. So a lot more people are actually looking. They've been holding out on their, like me, like I've been holding out with my NVIDIA 1080, for a long time. People have their 2080s and stuff and their 2090s, and they're just holding on to them for new graphics cards. So it's like now is the cycle that we actually have stock on. So people are finally starting to actually buy their new PCs and stuff.
True. Very true. William Lewis with an incredibly generous $10 super chat. William says, saw Harjeet had a good marketing plan. If the new Call of Duty is a PS5 Series X only, sell a bundled Series S with the new COD, 3 months of Game Pass, $300, good entry level for those without new consoles. That's a great bundle. That's a great bundle. 3 months of Game Pass should be in every Xbox, no matter what. There should always be 3 months of Game Pass because it doesn't break the bank and it gets you in. And I love the idea. I'm gonna put this back up here just because I love the idea of the Series S low cost entry to play the new COD being the jam, right? You slap a sticker with Pal World or Fortnite on there. Also, you snap a sticker with Sea of Thieves or the new Gears on it, but the box itself is Call of Duty. I think you've got a good selling box ahead of your holiday. You slap a sticker with Indiana Jones in certain markets on there. I think you got a shot there. So that's a great comment. I wish Harjeet had social media because I'd compliment him. I've always wanted to have Harjeet show up in our chat. So, good dude there. And William, thank you for the $10 super chat, man. I really appreciate you. Jam-Pack Sam asking a question. Are we officially out of the COVID impact and sales are declining from the unusual peak, or are things really just down this much? I think what's happening is we're contracting, and like all things, there's an overcorrectedness as it balances, right? I think that's what's happening is sometimes it goes a little too far and then it kind of wavers and wobbles and then it settles. And I think you're seeing a settlement. There is no major disruption right now to the gaming market, so it is settling. The only types of major disruptions are massive mergers, which happened last year, and we're only now going to see the potentials of that, and new consoles, right? I think that's it, or studio closing. So I guess those are 3 major disruptions. But lacking a new console in the short term, I think you're just seeing the industry coalesce and settle down in the wake of COVID as the PS4 and Xbox One gen has finally left us behind. I mean, I will tell you, it's only in the last year or so we've seen what what could be described as next gen in terms of graphics, display, and experience. And that came by way of Jedi Survivor. It came by way of Alan Wake, maybe Harry Potter, maybe one or two others. So I think that we're only now seeing games that you have to play and need these new consoles for, but we're 4 years in. And that's kind of the dirty, unspoken thing that's being said. And that's why people like X-Bacon Gaming and so many others are preaching PC, because they're not bound by generations. So
yeah, I'd also say that too. Like the economy itself is still kind of rough. Like inflation's still gone up. People are not making as much as they should be. There's just a lot of choices that people are having to make monetarily, and with everything going up, including game prices and stuff, people are just spending less, and that's causing impacts overall.
Yep, I tend to agree for sure. I wanted to point out one other aspect of Xbox sales with the idea of Call of Duty and Game Pass perhaps kind of coming together. Do you anticipate that sells consoles, Logan? And then the follow-up question is, does that change Game Pass?
I do think it changes Game Pass regardless of console sales, because I think that they know the value of Call of Duty and they want to ensure that they're not leaving money on the table if they can. I think that the people that are playing Call of Duty on PlayStation will continue to play there. I don't think they're going to really make any new sales unless the new sales of those systems. Like that's the thing to me is the reason why a lot of people play Call of Duty on PlayStation is because Call of Duty on PlayStation had so many bonus packs to skins and weapons and maps and stuff. Like, they had the exclusivity deal for that. And Xbox will do something like that, I imagine. If they don't, it'd be really stupid if they didn't take the same thing that they would have done with that Activision would have done for Sony and then apply that to Xbox. But it's going to take a few years for something like that to draw people over to the other to Xbox. So I don't think it'll push sales. I do think it'll change Game Pass though. Are you muted?
Yes, I was. I apologize. This is my first time bringing this over in here, and so it looks a little framey, but there is a really interesting zoom out that happens in just a moment with this
interview with the Bloomberg with Sarah Bond.
Correct. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. I remember seeing this.
I think it's momentarily.
This was a weird one because this is one where
it's being a little framey on my side. Is it framing for you?
Yeah, but I get where it's going. The interview with Sarah Bond, I think, was really interesting to see that bar graph of sales because, and this was something I think SkillUp had pointed out in his video addressing the Sarah Bond video, that when 2020 hit, there was such a spike in growth from when the Xbox Series X and S launched compared to the Xbox One. Exactly. And even with them still finding that decline 4 years in, it is still insane to me that they are shuttering studios. They're finding trouble managing their financials at a point where, like, you guys are still way higher than you were 4 years ago. Like, you shouldn't be this shouldn't be an issue if you're still way above where you were with the Xbox One.
Yeah, it was a little odd to see, studios closing and an ill-prepared PR statement. And then the graph shows that Xbox is in a much better place. Microsoft is a much better place as far as the gaming division is concerned. And they're choosing to do that. And I was really disappointed because that was masterful camera work during that Bloomberg interview. And guys, I'm sorry. I thought I'd prepped it in a way that you guys would be able to see it. But I really expected a better response because Microsoft has been making money, and isn't Game Pass there to supplement the small teams while you get the big pillar titles in there? I know they weren't expecting Fallout to do what it did, but Fallout is now a pillar. Sea of Thieves exists in multiple places. Call of Duty is inbound. I am appreciative, and I shouldn't be appreciative of this because it's an Xbox first party, and we were always told Game Pass day and date first party. But I'm appreciative that the current insiders, and I mean insiders like Wall Street Journal, right? The Verge, people that are respectable names, not like your Joe Schmoes, Cold Eastwoods, just shouting out stuff. I appreciate that we're seeing Call of Duty is set to drop day and date into Game Pass this year. I like that. I'm appreciative of that as a customer because one, Call of Duty is huge. Two, it should help the business overall. And there's a lot of ways they can make Call of Duty monetization more accessible for Game Pass members. That said, the idea of bringing in a new tier system for Game Pass is both awesome and scary to me because I do not want to see Game Pass go up above $20. $20 to me seems fair, $20 a month. But above that, we're looking at making some poor choices here. And there's a lot of Xbox Game Pass stuff that cannot be accessed due to time. And that's like people don't have the time to go into all of these things. So I'd be fine. Take out EA Play, take out a few of these elements. I don't need all the things because my time is finite. I truly don't remember who it was that said that in one of our friends' podcast chats recently. I feel like it was Silken It, but I can't truly say it was because I just don't remember. But time is the problem, right? Like Game Pass is getting so big that time is an issue. And so we've got to make sure that we do right by bringing in Game Pass subscribers, by not overinflating the price and still making it worthwhile, because you can't play everything that's in there all the time, especially not with live service games, right?
Yeah.
I think it's the fear of bringing, what is it, Warcraft in, right? Warcraft's a consume your life type thing. I still agree with your theory from a few months back. Game Pass Ultimate, you get your Warcraft subscription. Suddenly you're bringing in more subscribers. Your numbers look better to investors, but also those people might jump and try out something else. And is that not the win? So
that is, it's one of those things that first off, Game Pass, there's a great opportunity for Xbox to make it a la carte where you kind of pick and choose what services and things you want included on your subscription. So you can kind of like, have options. The other thing that I want to shout it is I think that it was something where I feel like there's a fear that I have with them raising the price and adding Call of Duty. I did the math real quick, and you would have to have 3.5 $70 games to justify paying for a year's worth of Game Pass at $20. So realistically, like, you have to find 3 games at $70. And a lot of the games that come into Game Pass, when they do come in, don't actually cost $70 by the time those third parties make it into Game Pass. So you could buy those cheaper than when they first launched if you're willing to wait the same amount of time as when they get into Game Pass. So for me, the fear that I have is that Call of Duty is one of those games, and we do it, that you play throughout the year, and you spend a lot of time playing throughout the year. And to me, spending $240 a year for a tier that includes Call of Duty, and that is the cost, like, proposition that they're making here, does not really sound great, because the thing that I'm hearing is, we're going to give you a $70 game. It's Call of Duty. You're going to spend hundreds of hours in this game. You're not going to get the full value of Game Pass if you're spending that much time in Call of Duty, if you're going to continue buying Game Pass at the higher tier.
I think that I half agree and I half don't, because I watch 3-4 shows on Netflix and I'm satiated, but I love having the option to do other stuff for that one-off night where my wife and I want to watch a movie, or that one-off game that just might click. What's the most recent one with the cat? Little Kitty, Big World, or something like that, right?
Little Kitty, Big City.
There you go. Okay,
it's a banger of a game, and how dare you?
You play that once, have a blast with it, and then you go back to your bigger pillar games that are in there. And I think that's the benefit therein too. I'm anxious to and hoping that I get to speak with Christopher Dring from gamesindustry.biz, because we've had it in place before, guys, but things keep popping up and it was in there. So the reason I want to talk to him, rather, I should say, is he's been pretty critical about Xbox in the last few months from a very business side thing. And he has stated before that games that are coming to Xbox that are not in Game Pass don't tend to do well, because Xbox gamers in this ecosystem has been trained to go to Game Pass. And hard to argue that one, right? Hard to argue that process. But why not push that narrative? If you've got Call of Duty in Game Pass Ultimate, you got Diablo in Game Pass Ultimate, and you play those as your mains, but then you jump into the crab game, you jump into the kitty game, you might jump in and try Hellblade, you might jump into other things. Maybe you even take your wife out on a nice little sail in Sea of Thieves or whatnot. Whatever it might be, the idea that it's there at your fingertips is the tease, right? That's why they want their own Microsoft mobile store. Stupid. That's why they want that, is so maybe you do click on that one thing and try it that one time, and then they loop you in. That is marketing, I suppose, in some ways. William Lewis kind of making a good point. Would have never played Cocoon without Game Pass, my favorite game from last year. William, you said that in our Let's Talk video, which is my thing that I just kind of started. I remember that. And yeah, like, that's exactly what you should do. Game Pass is amazing for finding and discovering stuff, because the buy-in is so little once you're there that you can try a game, see if it's for you, and put it down. Broforce is in there. Mercenary Kings was in there. Those are two games that I love, and I would hope people would check out there. Let me see.
I see that as like possibilities, but I think the difference being is that we're people that are sold on Game Pass. What we're looking at is people that are sold on Call of Duty.
I see
and
that.
What are they going to do?
Ellery Woods Parker III making a good comment here. I've never played COD, but if the campaign drops into Game Pass on the tier that I'm at, I will play it. If I have to jump a tier for it, I won't do it. I think that's a great point. And maybe, if you're on the bottom tier, you get last year's COD, or you get COD without a battle pass, but then you still get access to the campaigns. Those campaigns run the gamut. I've said this on somewhere that I was chatting. Call of Duty campaigns run the gambit of Fast and Furious, from the most serious ones like Fast 5 and Fast 4 to the most ridiculous of like Tokyo Drift and Too Fast, Too Furious, and everywhere in between. They're bombastic and crazy and silly, and they're fun. You got 10 hours. You want us to go in, shoot some bad guys at a low stakes environment, put it on easy, go through. That's what a campaign for Call of Duty is for. You want to know life it, then you're in zombies or you're in multiplayer. And Battle Royale, I know you and I are kind of at odds on like how much stress is involved, but there is a kind of in-between, an in-between level of stress that comes with Battle Royale. But I love it. Like, I think COD offers a lot of things. I just am interested to watch how COD disrupts the Xbox ecosystem and if it impacts the greater gaming world. Do we see people jump ship from PlayStation over? Do we see PC make another change? Or do we see Xbox Game Pass adjust in and of itself? So that's the benefit or flaw that comes with Call of Duty coming into Game Pass. And chat, keep letting us know your thoughts. I appreciate reading these.
I honestly, here's my feeling on this is whatever Call of Duty announces this year, PlayStation users need a reason to justify that console right now. They have got nothing over there. It is barren, and we'll find out next week. Like,
don't they already have the reasons? Like, they bought it for Spider-Man, God of War, whatever. They bought it and they've just got it now.
That doesn't mean there's not hungry for new stuff, though. Like, we know that they want new games. They may not, finish those games, but they do want new games. And Call of Duty is on that annual cycle. So the people playing Call of Duty right now are going to get the next Call of Duty, but they are going to, they're not going to give up on Sony's console just because 1 year of a 1 year lacking of first party titles. Like, they're going to justify it through this year by buying Helldivers, by buying Call of Duty. and then they'll justify it next year by buying Wolverine or something, you know.
Fair. I hope Wolverine soon. I hope Wolverine is soon. I'm really excited for that game.
I'll have it when I have it. Honestly, I still haven't even played Spider-Man 2 because I haven't beaten Miles Morales.
That's a shame. I'm surprised, but they're all good. They're all good. I finished X-Men 97
that much.
That's fair. That's fair. I finished X-Men 97 recently, and it made me happy. Like, I really enjoyed that show, and I was always the Batman, Spider-Man, then X-Men 97 or X-Men back in the day. And then we had a good discussion in one of our group chats about, you know, where does X-Men, Spider-Man, Gargoyles, Darkwing Duck, Batman, where do they all rank in your favorites? I was never a big X-Men guy, and I didn't actually think the X-Men movies were that good. Like, they were fun, but like they weren't like the Spider-Man movies or some of them, or the Dark Knight at the time. Because remember, like, Days of Future Past and X-Men 3 Last Stand, some of those were coming out next to some heavy hitters, and sometimes they weren't. I thought Logan was great. I thought X-Men, or sorry, I think Wolverine, the one where he's in Japan, was great. That one was really good. But I really like 97, and I think they've got something cool there to kind of reignite that brand. So I'm curious in the gaming space if it's just Wolverine that we see, right? Because right now, superhero-wise, on the Marvel front, we know of Blade, we know of Wolverine, we know of
Wonder Woman.
Nope, that's DC. But superhero. I was thinking Marvel, but you know, not a lot, I guess that you would say. And so it'll be interesting to just watch that medium. I don't know. We'll see.
I have so many opinions about that, but I'm not going to go into them.
Okay, save it for later. Okay.
No, we'll talk in private, I'm sure, about like where X-Men stands and why for some reason you pull out like the worst X-Men's to bring up for quality. There's so many good X-Men movies. Dude, X-Men 1 and 2 are fantastic.
They're fun. They're not fantastic.
Rebecca Romaine Stamos as Mystique will always live rent-free in my brain.
They don't
X-Men
age well.
First Class is amazing. The bar scene in I can't think of where it is. It's like Brazil or somewhere, Portugal. That bar scene with Magneto is amazing. The second one was just as good.
Quicksilver was dope.
Quicksilver was fantastic, dude. He made that movie.
He did, because there wasn't else in it.
like Logan was a fantastic movie. It was a fantastic film. Wolverine had good moments, but they really screwed over like the whole Silver Samurai thing. I think they would have been better off doing like a Weapon X story or something like that. But there's so many good X-Men movies that like by the time they get to the third iteration, that's where the wheels come off the cart. And I don't think anyone's going to argue that, but to not bring up like something like Nightcrawler and X-Men 2 was so freaking cool.
That was a great White House scene.
Oh God, that was such a good. It's like the Quicksilver scene in the kitchen. Like it's just those moments.
Quicksilver was great.
So good,
both of them.
All right.
But yeah, I do hope that with Sarah Bond's new Bat Compat team and the Activision stuff coming through, we do get some of those old games. Wolverine Origins was a great Xbox 360 game. The Deadpool game was fun. I would love to see some of that stuff make its return for sure. Logan, let's shift gears here because I got to tell you, there's so much more. And I want to talk about this new Assassin's Creed title, Assassin's Creed Shadows. I watched this trailer this morning with you. I've been following the stories, but I hadn't watched the trailer till this morning. It's been confirmed by Ubisoft. Assassin's Creed Shadows is a mainline entry into the Assassin's Creed franchise. It was officially unveiled on May 15th. It's set for an October release, I think, but it is a game set in feudal era Japan, and it stars a black man in samurai gear, which has caused a number of talking points. There is a female protagonist that looks to be absolutely awesome in her portrayal as well. But people are out there wishy-washy this one. I will tell you, this trailer looked amazing. And I enjoyed Mirage, but did not finish it. I like Assassin's Creed, but I haven't been into it since Origins Odyssey. Yo, I am stoked for this. I still think Assassin's Creed belongs in January or February, not next to these biggest heavy hitters in November because Ubisoft always goes on sale so quick. November 15th, says William Lewis. Thank you, William. But I really, really am excited for this. I don't know how it's going to pair with other stuff coming around because you've got all these later on in Q4 games like Indie and COD, and I'm blanking on the others, but like there's a lot coming. Avowed, thank you. And so Assassin's Creed always gets lost in the shuffle for me, but Shadows, man. Ooh, I'm excited. Chat, let me know what you think.
Dude, I am stoked for this. I finished Shogun not too long ago, so like the whole idea of a stranger in a strange land kind of thing, like the Last Samurai thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a good storyline, and I get that people are like, why is there a black man in Japan? It's like, folks, come on. Just look past your racism and just accept that it could be a potential. There people did get on boats. There were definitely people on boats at some point, and they did make it to other places where they weren't, the majority. That's why we have a word for it called the minority. I'm so stoked for this. I love that they've got two characters. I love that you get to play as a samurai. I think it's Yusuke is the name of the main protagonist for the samurai. And then I'm blanking on her name. Noah or Neo. I can't remember what it is. But
I don't either know.
But you get to play as the shinobi as well too. So you get both. You get the stealth, and that's their own separate character, and that you get to play through her story as someone whose village and like family, like the shinobi family, was being destroyed by the samurai, who's the other character, the other protagonist. It's so good. It's like you have two protagonists and they're both set in history. And the fact that you people, and I'm not talking to anyone in chat. You guys are
careful. Here he goes with you people.
The people who are upset about the fact that one of the main protagonists is a black man is so frustrating to me. And I just lost my point, but it's so frustrating to me that they are hung up on this aspect of it when it's like Ubisoft does their research. It's not like they just everything that they tend to make when it comes to Assassin's Creed is so historically accurate that they rebuild a church based on the game's scans. They know what they're doing when it comes to Assassin's Creed in history. So if they say it's possible and it could have happened, I believe them because they know their research.
Okay, so I will counter argument that and still make the same point as you.
Okay.
So here's the counter logic, and yet I agree. And that is, this is a story about assassins who can jump off really tall buildings and land in hay. Does it really need to be historically accurate to a T? Can we not take some liberties? For God's sakes, the whole premise of Assassin's Creed is you got people in modern day hopping in on Animus and remembering their genetic memories. Guys, genetic memories are the same plot to Godzilla and Kong. They're going to genetically remember the Hollow Earth. And we're going to go like, there doesn't need to be picture perfect levels. This isn't meant to be that. And at a certain point, you got to just take a step back and say, hey, I'm playing a video game and I'm going to enjoy the video game. If this is true story, freaking awesome. I don't know this story. I'm excited to experience it. Nerd Chat gave you your pronunciation. I started for you.
No way. Thank you.
No, there you go. If it is a true story, amazing. If it's not, I don't think I'm losing anything because I'm playing Assassin's Creed. Like, that's what I'm playing. They jump off buildings. They use secret wrist killers. And it's like, okay, whatever. Be historically accurate or not. I want a great story that's well acted and is respectful of my time as a gamer. And so there is a line in there. At some point, guys, we say this all the time, Logan. Games should be fun.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Exactly. I will counter your counterpoint with a fact that you can jump off high buildings and land in hay and be okay because it's the animus, but the world and the characters are all based in history.
Fair.
So you're in a virtual simulation, so they can tweak some stuff with the gravity and whatnot and impacts and stuff like that. But as far as like the history of the game and all that, they try to stay very, very rooted in our actual history. The one time that I would think that they detoured from that was with pulling Assassin's Creed Black Flag and ripping that out to make Skull and Bones, so that they could kind of make like a pseudo based in history pirate game. That's like the one exception that I'll accept, as far as them being like, oh, well, they're not historically accurate. It's like, well, they did tweak things for a shoot off of Black Flag to make Skull and Bones, but
I recently watched a fantastic movie that has a title that I think puts some people off, but The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Right?
Yeah.
That movie is fan-freaking-tastic. I recommend it to every single person. It's so much fun. It's a Guy Ritchie directed it. It takes place in World War II. It's an elite team taking down Nazis. Alan Richardson and Henry Cavill, and I forget the other people because it was Alan Richardson and Henry Cavill. And they were awesome. The female lead was clearly not white. And I say that because they took liberties there. These are great actors doing amazing things, based on a true story of based on Winston Churchill's memoirs and what they're seeing, real soldiers. But then when they show the video at the end of the movie, these are all people that do not look like, in any way, shape, or form, these amazing movie stars playing out their roles. But the message was received, and we had a good time, and it was a blast. Yeah. And so it's kind of like that's Assassin's Creed. Enjoy the great movie, enjoy the great game, recognize that it doesn't need to be perfectly accurate, and you can still get what you want out of it. Anybody that's hung up because it's a black man, knock it off. You're being foolish and stupid. Anyone who's hung up because that Japanese or Chinese leader, I cannot remember. I've heard both Japanese and Chinese. Yes, but I've heard that it was a Japanese leader, and I've heard that it was a Chinese leader. So I don't know for sure, but didn't have a daughter, but there's a daughter in here. Okay.
Oh, you're talking about the Shinobi leader. Okay. Yes. No, he didn't, as far as I know, he was Japanese, as far as I know.
Japanese. Okay. Thank you. I've
heard
both.
Daughter.
I've heard both, and I just don't have the research in front of me.
Yeah. I'm willing to be wrong on that one. Yeah, no, I echo your sentiment, and Luke, I agree. If they think that Scarlett Johansson's the best actor for the Ghost in the Shell movie, then like go out and make the movie that you think is going to be the best represented by your acting chops and stuff, is what Luke is saying here.
We got a super chat from William Lewis here that I think parries into a conversation previously. For sports fans this year, we got a brand new NCAA football game, and the game Undisputed Boxing shaping up to be another awesome year. I got the notices for both of those, and people do seem very excited for them.
Yeah,
people do seem very excited.
First NCAA football game in a heck of a long time, man. I'm so glad that collegiate sports fans are going to be getting some food this year. It's fantastic. And the boxing game, I have no idea, but I know that boxing games in general are just really fun. They just, for whatever reason, it's just, I mean, ever since Punch Out and Ready to Rumble, it's like, they're just really good, fun games to have, especially if you're into boxing.
Right.
I'm glad that they're getting some of that. I got that email blast as well too.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool to see.
Ryan T was pointing out that Assassin's Creed is one of the biggest heavy hitters, though. I think when I was saying that it belonged in January or February, and Ubisoft games go on steep sale so fast, they have to release at the holiday period. I think that's kind of the problem, is they release in crowded windows and they have to go on sale so quickly. And I would love to see them try out a new window of January for Assassin's Creed, so that you're not competing with Avowed, Indy, Call of Duty, the expansion for Starfield, and a number of other things. But Ubisoft consistently refuses to learn that lesson. So there is that.
I don't know that because I feel like their games, the way they've set up their games is they start out at 70 and they've got like up to the $110 range for the collectors and stuff like that. And then they've got like the season passes that they build into those higher versions and stuff for the premium editions. And then they've got their cosmetics and their season pass content built into their games from the get-go. So if they don't get you right away, maybe they'll get you like 6 months down the line with a season pass, or not a season pass, but with a cheaper buy-in. And then they'll maybe like, you'll say, okay, well, I didn't pay $70 for this, so maybe I'll buy a couple skins in the thing, or maybe I'll pick up the season pass or something like that. And then like a year down the line, they'll have it on like a game of the year sale, or like a bundle sale where they'll have like a new expansion. And then they'll release like a $60 or $70 version of the game that is the base game plus the expansion and some cosmetics to add you on. So their monetization is designed in a way to give as many people opportunities to buy in at the price that works for them, and still offer opportunities for monetization beyond just the actual game sale price. It's the one thing that has been keeping Ubisoft from getting bought out by other companies for so long. And it started back with like, what was it? Assassin's Creed Origins, I think is when it kind of kicked off, when they changed things up. And it's that is their model now. And it's not to devalue their games, because they support their games for a long time, but it's to ensure that there are different stages of life for their games when people will pick them up. It's why they won't go into Game Pass, is because their monetization model works.
Right. I agree. Oh, pardon me for yawning right there. I'm so sorry.
I'm so boring, Luke. I am
not
sorry.
at all. Not at all.
Oh my
not
gosh. Just kick me off the show.
Let's take a moment real quick and give a shout out to our channel members at the moment. I want to, and I'm going to include our those that were recipients of the gifted memberships from Matt Valdez. Thank you guys, because all of you channel members, much like our patrons, and I know some of you are kind enough to double dip. I really appreciate you guys also. But your channel members, you really do help me get to LA safely, get new software, get the stuff that we need to get to have a successful podcast. So thank you. Alexander Poltron, these are all tier 1s for the moment. Alexander Poltron, Tom S, Andrew Cannon, Isaac Hayes 85, Baz Hayes, RC Polygons, William Lewis, Polly Barra, Creed and Eve, Nola Origins, Rick Gaffney, Kevin Ainsworth, Neon Black, Painful Discourse, Jason Helms, Trickster, Pixel Bit G, I love Pixel Bit, Todd Oxtra, good to see you, dude, there. Ryan T, Back from the Dead 1, Focus Active, Split End 89, what's up, David? Stanley Francois, Silkenet, Silent Cypher, Sarin Grant, Sabarito, Matt Sarian, C Fresh, Captain Crunch, Happy Cloud Gamer, X Bacon Gaming, Cheese Works, Jonathan B, Addy Zero, Addy Tune, Rick Davis, Spartan P451, and Nisa Howard, all at tier 1. At tier 2, we have Matto1606. Tier 3, Matt Valdez. Tier 2, Ellery Woods Parker III. Tier 2, Clint Coombs. We appreciate all of you. That is a lot of names to read, and I am so honored that I get to do it. Thank you guys for truly, truly, truly helping me get through this content creation. And now, as a result of you, I get to go to the Xbox Showcase. I get to be at IGN Live. I get to be at Summer Game Fest, meeting some of these people, interviewing these developers, and I'm honored and appreciative. So thank you. William Lewis says, you still can't forget about Star Wars Outlaws coming. That will be one of the games I go hands-on with. Very excited for that. And I'll get to check that one out for sure. Whew, Logan, that was a lot to read.
That was. Good job.
Thanks, man. Square-Enix, my friend. It feels like weeks ago that we heard about this. Doesn't it? It really does.
Oh, yeah.
Square-Enix, they announced news that they are going multi-platform with future content. There's a few asterisks here, but I find it interesting that we saw for years, Phil Spencer courting Square-Enix coming on stage at EXO 2019, talking about Final Fantasy, putting out Kingdom Hearts on Game Pass. And then it kind of died away because Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Final Fantasy VII Reloaded, locked and ready to go for rheumatoid arthritis. Yeah, whatever it was.
Oh my God.
They stayed on PlayStation exclusively. It was very strange to watch them skip the Xbox brand altogether, despite being courted. Now, the asterisk in that is that there are not a lot of Xboxes on the market as compared to PlayStation 5s. And we're seeing PlayStation 5's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth not sell nearly as well as Remake, because PS4 is what was there for Rebirth, remake. God, this is a terrible Final Fantasy VII. It's the final one. My biggest point here is it skipped Xbox. I think it really had a missed opportunity for Square Enix to get a new audience potentially. And that's kind of a bummer for sure. That said, it seems to be backfiring because like every other company, they're seeing their sales contract a bit as console sales are slowing down. And so they're trying to find other places to put their games. They should all be on PC at this point. They should all have crossplay. And Square Enix seems to be learning that lesson a bit late. Logan standing up. He's got a lot to say here. He had to stand up. He's rallying. He's ready. He's devastatingly handsome. He's been at the gym lately. Right? Look at him go. All right, buddy. Hit me with some knowledge.
My God. The idea that Square Enix is going multi-platform is the stupidest statement I've had to hear this week. I can't believe that people are like, Square Enix is going multi-platform. They have always been multi-platform. They have always been this way.
No, that can't be right.
The difference is that Sony, for once, is not giving them the sales that they want. And their deals with Sony have not been profitable. Look at Foam Stars. Look at the Forspoken. Their games are not doing well, and part of that is because their games aren't, all that interesting. But they are taking the bag from Sony so much that they are leaving a ton of money on the table. So the fact that Square Enix is deciding that they're going to go multi-platform, to me, says that they are just they've had blinders on for so long that they just have no clue who they should be like giving their games to. And I'm so glad that for once the new guy that's over there running Square Enix is like, guys, we could make a lot of money if we just put this stuff somewhere else. And finally someone's like, well, if Xbox is cool with it, I guess that works. I'm glad. I'm so glad. Anyone that's been on the Xbox ecosystem that has been wanting to play Final Fantasy Remake and Rebirth are finally going to be able to have an opportunity for that to actually be real. And I am just so glad that that's happening, because I actually started playing Final Fantasy Remake on my PS5, and it's surprisingly a pretty fun game, considering it's based off a JRPG, and it's a lot more action now. And I'm really looking forward to jumping into Final Fantasy 16, because everyone tells me that the combat feels close enough to a Devil May Cry that I, as a not JRPG fan, would still enjoy it. And it's stupid to me that Square Enix would hinder themselves so much, like especially when you compare to what Ubisoft is doing compared to what EA is doing. It's like it's so dumb. It was so dumb for them, and them saying this is like a giant mea culpa to all of the Xbox fans out there that are just like, when are we going to get it? And they're like, I don't know if we're going to bring it to those other consoles. It's like, well, why not? It's, well, because we made deals with Sony. It's like, well, maybe don't make those deals. Maybe make money instead. I don't know. So
those deals used to make money, and now they're not. Right? Is that's the ballooning cost of making games now, and the percentage probably hit that PlayStation takes from each sale? Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah, I don't know what the deal was. I don't know what it was that they got from Sony, but it's just, I get that Sony's like got the consoles out there, like I get that, but the Sony fans, like, they aren't buying their games, so it's like, what are you gonna do? Like, Foam Stars was a complete waste of time for them at this point, because Helldivers 2 dropped right at the same time, and Helldivers 2 was the better trip. So take your games, put them on other consoles. Stop making people have to worry about like whether or not Square Enix is going to be a third-party multi-platform studio. Like, it's such a dumb concept to me. Like, if you're third party, put your stuff everywhere. It works for Capcom. It works for Sega. It works for EA. It works for Ubisoft. Why? Why wouldn't you?
That was going to be my kind of point here, is that we just got news in the last 2 weeks of Capcom doing extremely well.
Yeah.
We also see Sega puts their stuff day and date into Game Pass for some of their Yakuza games, some of them not, but they're all available. We're seeing a JRPG renaissance in the Xbox ecosystem for a number of games from Sega. It seems like at least prior to this most recent set of weeks, where it feels like Phil and Sarah aren't quite at the helm, and maybe we're wrong, right? Like we're just going off the tea leaves that we can see, not everything. But it feels like putting your games everywhere is the smartest thing. And I got to tell you, something tells me that if Foam Stars was on Xbox and in Game Pass, people would have checked it out far more emphatically. Far more emphatically, and maybe it had a better shot.
Or on Switch. You've already got the Splatoon people there. Like, why wouldn't you just like give them an alternative? Like, people are bored with Splatoon 3 right now. There's not
do you think Nintendo nixed that?
I don't know if Nintendo had the option.
I don't know either. I'm just I see a world where Nintendo, who is hyper, look, y'all, Nintendo crazy, okay? They're crazy. Like everybody's like, oh, Mario, it's fun. They will slit your throat if you speak ill.
Yeah.
You know, like
don't mess with Mario.
Right. So two comments here from our Project X Talk brethren. First, Kevin Ainsworth says Foam Stars was on PS Plus at launch. A good point, not 1-to-1, but definitely comparable. And then Jam Pack Sam saying even multiplat, it probably would have become a knockout city. Rip. Possibly.
I don't disagree with that. I do feel like there is a good possibility of that. But if you're going to sell your game, take bags from both companies if you know it's going to flop.
Yep. That's a good point. Side note, we put out I thought it was a great short, Logan, of your comment about Hi-Fi Rush being this generation Sunset Overdrive. I put out that short. It got like 50 views. I was like, this was such a good comment. I don't understand algorithms.
It's because people probably don't. We're not there yet. Like the comment will become more relevant in like 3 years when people are like, son of a gun, Xbox blew it with Hi-Fi Rush. Can't believe they let that slip through their fingertips. It's like that's when it'll be relevant in the future.
New Xbox hardware is coming out in 2026, so maybe they launch with Sunset Overdrive 2. You never know. New PlayStation leadership took place. Now, this is relevant to the Xbox ecosystem, mainly because despite being Xbox's biggest rival in this space, there's so much cross-pollination now, and the idea of PlayStation games coming over is far less fetched. And both of these men seem to be inclined to make money. Herman Hulst and Hideki Nishino are going to be succeeding Jim Ryan as co-CEOs of PlayStation, which is funny. It'll be Hulst that focuses on the business group, which is like first-party games and PlayStation IP into things like film and TV. Whereas Nishino, he's going to be doing things like hardware, peripherals, that kind of stuff. I like Herman Hulst a lot. Something about him, it's not quite a 1-to-1, but it feels a little Phil Spencer-y in that he seems like a guy that wants people to play games. They do seem more business focused, but when I look at the contracting console space and the need for PlayStation to diversify its portfolio, they are behind Xbox in that category. They're ahead in other categories, but they're behind in that one category of having games ready to go soon. And so I like this joint leadership. And I'm curious if we see a PlayStation showcase, PlayStation State of Play, PlayStation anything this summer outside of a Summer Game Fest, because Summer Game Fest listed their partners, a lot of good partners in there, but Xbox has a showcase. Xbox is in the partnerships. There's a lot of stuff happening for Xbox this year and next year, which I think is exciting. Doom. So I'm really wondering what PlayStation's going to have up their sleeve and if these guys are going to bring us something sooner rather than later.
I think this was a really smart move for them. I think one of the problems that I have with it is that they aren't splitting a salary. And I think that would have probably been the thing that I would have liked to have seen is like, hey, we've got Herman Hulst, and then kind of like there's going to be co-ownership between the CEO spot, and they're only going to take one salary. And we're going to have two people taking on it. So we're going to have a lot. These two guys are going to be getting a raise, I would assume. And they're probably going to be taking some money. So there's going to be expectations. I like that the workload is being split so that there's not just, and I think this is honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I think this is because of what Jim Ryan did towards the end of his tenure as CEO and making the choices that he did with like live service and multiplayer games and like that initiative. I think they're looking to avoid that by having two heads kind of saying like, this is what I want to do. The other person being like, well, is that the best thing for what we should be doing? Or like, you know, having two people not just focusing on one vision that can make or break your console. I think is a positive. It always reminds me of that scene in, and this is going to be a weird reference, but hear me out. That scene in World War Z, where I think it was Israel had like built a giant wall around the city to prevent the zombies from getting inside. And they were like, well, why did you build the wall? And he's like, well, of the council, everyone agreed that the email that we got was dumb, but I was the guy that had to say, well, what if? And then that what if was the thing that sparked us making the wall. And it's like, now that we have two people as CEO for Sony, there's a better chance of someone being like, hold on, red flag. I don't know that we necessarily want to have that be the initiative that the studio that we want our studios to jump into, because it's not necessarily their forte. So maybe having all of them working on a multiplayer game when they've only ever made narrative genre defining AAA experiences, not the best choice. Maybe we could look at something else for that. That's my hope with this. And I'm glad that they picked people from within Sony and didn't just like hire someone from outside. I think it would have been friggin' hilarious if they had hired Bobby Kotick, but
I know, man. I wanted you to have that moment only for this, but I think that would have been terrible for gaming. Yeah. And screw Bobby Kotick, man. His exit parachute could have paid for Tango Gameworks for 17 years.
Yep.
Oh, Bobby Kotick is trash. Bobby Kotick is the Little Caesars of gaming executives.
You know that Lassie trope of like where the little boy falls down the well and the dog's there to like get the adults to come let them know like, hey, there's a boy in the well. Little Tommy's down in the well. I hope that happens for Bobby. I just hope there's not a dog around.
Jesus. I like it. I don't want to agree, but
what else were we going to talk about though?
So a couple smaller stories this weekend, guys. Keep dropping your questions in chat. I appreciate you. I've got all the super chats I think we've read, but I've got your questions starred for later. This Redfall, the sad news that Redfall was closing down, I think for a lot of people were just kind of devastated. I was very sad. I know Ellery was sad. We have a lot of people in our XP community that liked Redfall, or I should say probably more eloquently, had fun, and we're looking forward to a possible rebirth, a la Fallout 76, Sea of Thieves, Grounded. And so there was a possibility right there, but that wasn't to be the case. That said, Redfall came out on socials, their official accounts, and they said, thank you for all your supportive messages. Quick editor's note here from Luke. We were among those messages. I passed on the XCP comments to Redfall leadership.
I said stuff too.
We are working to release our final update, Game Update 4, that brings revamped neighborhood and nest systems, single player pausing, offline mode, and more. We will provide additional details soon. End quote. I like this because at the very least you can play it offline, similar to Avengers. At least the game is there for those that want to play it. You'll be able to play solo. You won't need servers. To me, that's a very good thing, because I was saddened that the work that was being done was just lost. Because I can tell you, I think I've said this every XEP. They were absolutely working on stuff. Hey, William Lewis says, have a good day. Oh, sorry, that's Logan. Says, have a good day heading out with the fam. Have a great day with you and your family, my friend. Thank you for your support this episode. Both super chats were very well appreciated, and that will be put to good use, helping me get around LA. So thank you, my friend. I'm really honored and appreciative. So Redfall getting that last update. Maybe it's not the big one, but it is a good one. And I'm glad they get to have their moment there. So at the very least, their work is not lost.
Yeah, what a bummer that we're never going to get that Bite Back Edition content. It could have been a grand like finale, like curtain call to be like, all right, guys, we're shuttering the studio, but We really love you all for the support, and as such, we're going to be offering the Bite Back Edition content as well as offline mode and single player pausing. And we've done a really good job on reworking a lot of the neighborhood and nest systems so that you can really just immerse yourself in this world. Because I, like you, really had fun with it. I found the fun in it. Not a great game. Not it was a good game, not a great game. And I really enjoyed that, like what they've continued to do with it. They just needed more time, unfortunately. And the time is always pushing against you as a game studio. So this was one of those things where I wasn't expecting it. I will happily take it, and I will happily jump in to give a chance to the revamp on the systems, because I'm very curious about that. But just the offline mode alone is so, like, that right there is so crucial, because while Xbox does support their games, this is an online game, and having an offline mode will 100% afford this game to live on in Game Pass without necessarily having to dedicate the server space for it.
Agreed. I thought the 60 frames per second on console update really did a lot to help.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to go back into Redfall at some point. I know I am. Right, I got a lot on my plate right now with Hellblade and with with the Giga Bash DLC. What's up? That's what kaiju fighting games are dope. But like I'll definitely jump back into Redfall and have a good time. I don't mind that in the slightest. But shout out to that team. Let's see. New Game Pass games. I want to point out the slate of Game Pass games coming in, because it is I wish Joseph Moran was here. It is a banger of a month that's coming up. NHL 24 is coming to cloud. Humanity, a game that you are credited in, I believe.
Yes.
From our good friend Chris Johnston.
Fun game.
Yeah, really fun game. Chris doesn't listen to the show, but I do love Chris Johnston a great deal. That game is coming to cloud, a console, and PC after making its way over from PlayStation. I got to play test that game way back in the day. I'm not in the credits, but I did get to play test it and give feedback, which was cool. It was a fun experience for me to learn. Galacticare is in there. XCP favorite Immortals of Avium is in there. Coming to cloud, console, and PC also is Lords of the Fallen, which I would give a go in Game Pass, because I don't see myself going back to Elden Ring despite loving it. That's just too much of a gatekeepered arena, and I'd rather play Diablo or Lords of the Fallen or something lower stakes, just because there's just so much pressure that comes with playing Elden Ring. Did you like it? Did you play it right? Did you do this? Did you do this? It's like, whew, can I just play the game? And then, of course, the big one, Hellblade 2 Senua's Saga, is coming as well. A few other little indie titles in there, moving out to Chants of Sennaar, Rolling Hills. But I think a lot of people are going to be eyes on with Hellblade. Try it out. I think Lords of the Fallen and Immortals of Avium have a chance. Don't sleep on Humanity. That's a fun game. That's an Ellery game for sure. But I thought that was a pretty good list, man. What'd you think?
Dude, I love this lineup. Purely just like, if you like, this is gonna speak to the old PC people out there, but if y'all ever played Lemmings, or you like puzzle games, don't sleep on Humanity, because having gotten to like test that game, work on it with the team to kind of share my feedback, help with the development of that. That was one of those games where I was like, dude, this hits on a level that I don't see too often with games. And it's a puzzle game, but it's a puzzle game in a very unique way. And honestly, I have a good time with that. The boss fights in there are super fun as well too. But the puzzles are genuinely like the coolest, and they have some of the best community created content. Like some of the levels in there are fantastic. People have built some really amazing stuff. Think like Mario Maker when you think of like content creation for that game, because people will make their own levels and you have to play through them. And there's just, beyond just the base game itself, there's a ton of content in the created levels that all have like pop culture themes, like Star Wars and stuff. It's so good. But outside of that, Immortals of Avium, man. I saw Anna Brisbane, I think, voice actress on Twitter, talking about how Immortals of Avium was slept on. And I was like, Yeah, it was. So many people slept on this game. We were one of the few that were like, "Hi, no, this game is fantastic. Y'all should really be playing it. It's like one of the best Unreal Engine 5 games that we've seen." Outside of that, Lords of the Fallen, definitely going to be jumping into. Definitely want to give that a shot now that it's on Game Pass. Super looking forward to it on PC. So it's going to have all the bells and whistles. So looking forward to that one. And then Hellblade 2, dude. That's like that is the pillar title for the year. It's going to be the real big showcase thing. So I need to genuinely go back to Hellblade and finish that, because I started it. It was really good. I got distracted by something else, probably Sea of Thieves, and never like made my way back to it. But
right,
Hellblade 2, I'm looking forward to seeing how much different it is compared to the first one. But I do need to give time to Hellblade 1 first. The trouble is that I'm in the middle of reviewing another game, so I like my time is already kind of like pulled for that, on top of dealing with other stuff in life and whatnot.
Yeah. Games are meant to be fun. Games are meant to be fun. So we play them for fun. Shout out to GoldenEye 1971 for a super sticker, a 279 Canadian super sticker. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, man. It's very
if I had
kind.
Time, I would jump back into Immortals to 1K. It's such an awesome game. 100% agree.
Who said that one?
That was Ellery Woods Parker III.
Oh, yes. Okay, there we go.
The super sticker, as I believe GoldenEye is pointing up to.
Oh, I get it. Oh, I see it. I understand it now. Sorry, I was looking on the StreamYard side, so I didn't catch what it would have meant.
It doesn't show the sticker. The sticker's really fun. It's just a little like hand pointing up, and I'm pretty sure it's either Nicholas Johnson's comment about I started Immortals, or I started back into Immortals this weekend, and it continues to be so incredible. And then Ellery Woods talking about how it's such a great game. It is an amazing game. You guys, the story's fun. The combat's good. The facial animation is so good on that
Incredible.
game. But I love the world. I really wish that they had an opportunity to go back and jump into a sequel, because it's a good IP, man. I think it's got legs. It's a bummer that the studio didn't get the sales they needed to.
I saw a headline, but I did not read the article. So, please hold me accountable. But I saw that EA was going to be funneling all profit from that game back to Ascendant to try and keep them afloat, because it's an EA original. Anybody, please feel free to fact check me. I did not read the article. I saw the headline, but I didn't have time to read it. So I don't want to speak out of turn. I'm just giving you that as a seed to plant if you're interested in checking it out or looking into it. But I truly love Immortals of Avium. That was to me, just a gem of this generation that doesn't get its due. Which is a shame. All right, Logan, I think what I want to do is take a moment and point people towards stuff that's coming to XEP over the next 3 weeks to a month, because we've got a lot of things that are kind of in flux with the Summer Game Showcase, Summer Game Fest, Play Days. You are not going to Play Days. I am. Yep. And so if we do have episodes, you'll be leading the charge there. We're going to try to, as we get closer to, plan sometimes for me to call in or join you or something like that. I know you can look at our YouTube channel and my socials to see content there, stuff that's not embargoed. I'll be talking about, but I'll be in the room for Summer Game Fest, in the room for the Xbox Showcase, bumping elbows, looking at games, seeing demos. And so I'll be trying to get you guys content there. I've also got a few interviews that have not had locked in times. And sometimes these guys are so big or so odd that their schedules are just strange. And sometimes when you work with geniuses that you're going to interview, they're in their own world. And so like I was going to do one last night, but I didn't tell anybody about it. But I knew from working with him before that I was like, that's not going to happen. So really trying to get you guys stuff there. We also have our spoiler cast for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth coming up in the next week. I don't know if you're still in the chat, Kevin Ainsworth, but he says he's hosting that one. So we're going to look for that to come to the channel soon. Ellery Woods Parker III is working on at least one review for us, and I've got more codes ready for them if they're interested, because I love their reviews. My review of Hellblade 2 is coming this week, waiting on B-roll, which is being graciously donated by Ainsley Bowden, because currently my setup doesn't allow for B-roll capture. So that is kind of just stuff that is working in my mind. You're doing a review for us as well. You can say the title for sure.
Yeah. So I'm doing Wizardry, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord, which is Digital Eclipse's 3D remaster of the original RPG that came out. That's I think I can say the embargo is up next week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I can give the date or the time, but
just say it's up next week.
Yeah, it's coming next week. So look forward to that. You guys will hear my thoughts on it, but it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Digital Eclipse is, I think, great for going down the rabbit hole. And at XCP, we talk a lot about indies, we talk a lot about unsung heroes, and Digital Eclipse does a lot to work with game preservation. And so that's part of kind of our mission on the back end of XCP.
Yeah.
So that's kind of something that's going on there. I'm working on my Let's Talk series next week, or coming up this Tuesday. It probably won't happen. I might do it Monday or Wednesday just because of stuff at work. It's the last week of school with students. There's a lot of things. I have to go to a Sam's Club and pick up stuff for the students there. And so it's just a lot happening. Okay. Sam's Club is kind of like BJ's.
Oh no, I know Sam's Club. It's just, it's funny because I'm so used to Costco. Gotcha.
Same premise. Yeah, same premise. Hey, Sourblow in the chat. Sourblow, I believe. Oops, so Sourblow right here. There we are. From Xbox International Podcast, I believe. Make sure I said that one right. Call me out if I got it wrong. But I enjoy Sourblow. Works with Silent Cypher a lot. Unless I got the wrong person, and that's confusing. Let's see. Jampack Sam says, rolling out, catch the rest of the show at the gym. Thanks for the great show, gents. You're awesome, Sam. I appreciate your work in the gaming space as well. Thank you for being here. You are amazing. That sword is sexy. I think he's talking about the plasma sword behind me. Absolutely. I agree.
Actual plasma.
Yeah, actual plasma. That's real. Next to, of course, the Gears of War 5 Xbox One X. It's absolute beauty and piece of art. And I will say, I really hope that we see Gears at this showcase. We need to do, I think our next episode, we're going to do our showcase predictions, Logan. I think we're going to make that happen. I think it's the right time to do it because our schedules are so befuddled and I'll be flying and just a lot. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So we'll do that next week, guys, for sure. I will say, keep your eye out on XCP on our Discord. If you're a channel member, check your description. You can join our Discord. So if you got that gift from Matt Valdez today, please do so. Check out our Discord. We'd love to have you there. It's an extremely positive place. GoldenEye, thank you for the super sticker today. William Lewis, thank you for the super chats. Addy Zero, thank you for the super chats. Matt Valdez, thank you for the gifted subs. You guys are helping us out tremendously. Logan, let people know what you got going on with Keelhauled, my friend.
Keelhauled, new episode coming out this week. Going to be talking about the Twitch drops that are coming out. I'm not quite sure actually now that, Gilded Voyages, that's what it was. Gilded Voyages are out now. I got a lot to say about these because they're awesome. So if you guys have any curiosity about Sea of Thieves Season 12 PS5 expansion into that, always keep an eye out for that. Just search Keelhauled or search Sea of Thieves podcast. You'll see Keelhauled in that list. You can always find me on social at CAPT_LOGUN. Otherwise, I'm in the Discord. Just search for me in XEP Discord or Keelhauled Discord. I'm usually there. I'm going to be picking up streaming more and more now that I'm not going to have to worry about some other stuff going on. So I'll probably be jumping on to stream. So come keep me company as I play different games. It won't always be Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves is one of those ones that I have to kind of like zero in, make sure people aren't sailing up on me as I'm doing stuff, because I'm usually running solo. So I'll usually play other games as well where it's a little bit less like attentive, if that makes sense. But
where are you streaming? Are you on the Keelhauled channel?
That is on at CAPT_LOGUN on Twitch. And I'm going to probably be jumping back into Diablo 4 to work on my Thorn build. Necro is what I'm shooting for this season, I think.
Make sure you drop that into the Discord when you do go live. Okay. One of the things I love about our Discord is we have a patron channel, which Logan, you don't use patron channel, but like where we all support each other as content creators, because as a content creator, our time is difficult. To make your own content and try to be there for everybody else is difficult. So I often go back and watch VODs and such. But it's always good to have somebody there. And I will do something that I think people do for us also. And I am honored and appreciative, because seeing a zero when you're streaming is really painful. So I will pull people up that I know are in our community, and I'll just have them on my tablet while I game, so they don't
Yep.
have a 0 there. The power of 1 is very powerful, so you can
Yep.
always do that to support people.
1 is the loneliest number, from what I hear, but it's better than 0.
It is better than 0.
I don't know where I was going with that. I'm sorry.
I don't either. I was like, oh boy, here we are.
I just wanted to make a stupid reference to a song.
That's fair. That's fair.
Oh my God. Thorn Barb with Bash. Oh, that's tempting. I like that idea
yeah.
from Silkinit in chat talking about season. Dude, you got to get back into the Diablo 4. I know you're busy, but I think you're going to get a kick out of this season. I
want to, but I got to finish the Hellblade review because I'm not playing with the boys tonight either. I got to finish Hellblade.
Fair.
Write the review. And then after that, I'm good.
Also, Joseph Moran, the number of times you stood us up for game nights, for you to call us out in our private chat to be like, where my boys at? Sorry, buddy. Sorry. Some of us want other stuff to do.
I'll just real quick make fun of this kid. Look how ugly he is. Look how ugly he is. I just want him to know. I just want him to know. I just want him to know. All right, guys.
Time to get out of here.
Time to get out of here. I hope all of you have a fantastic rest of your week, everyone. Please take care of yourself, be good to each other, and have a wonderful rest of your week. Take care.